Welcome to a special edition of the Aud Pod. In this episode, we present highlights of a radio interview with State Auditor Pat McCarthy on News Radio 610 KONA. Auditor McCarthy stopped by their studio in the Tri-Cities for a wide-ranging discussion with hosts Robb, Francis, and John McKay, in which they discussed topics including SAO's work as a reporting agency versus an enforcement agency, the importance of independent auditing in today's political climate, and much more. As always, to learn more about our office, simply visit sao.wa.gov or email us at webmaster@sao.wa.gov. And now, here is Auditor McCarthy's interview on 610 KONA.
It is the Bottom Line Wednesday afternoon. Robb, Francis, John McKay with you. We're going to put the phone lines on hold for a little bit as we welcome to the program Washington State's Auditor Pat McCarthy. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
In Tri-Cities today for a visit. What brings you to Eastern Washington?
So the Washington Association of County Officials is having their conference here in Kennewick at the Convention Center, and I gave a 10-minute presentation at their lunch hour today.
Well, we're going to keep you a little longer than 10 minutes. So we're going to dive into a few topics. Number one, for those in our audience, they certainly, I'm sure, have heard of your office, but may not know what it is that you do. They may be familiar with what our county auditor does, but the responsibilities of the state auditor are a little bit different. Tell our audience what the state auditor is responsible for.
Well, I would say to the citizens of Washington State, and I say this all the time, that be proud of the legacy of what our forefathers did. And they were our forefathers. And at the time that we became a state, that they wanted a separate elected person to look at what an old-time term is the coffers of governments, both at the local level and at the state level, to not be beholden to the state legislature, not be beholden to the state governor, but to be beholden to the people. So this is an elected office. I'm the 11th state auditor. I'm the first woman state auditor, but it's had a lot of longevity over the entire legacy of wanting to make sure that government is doing what it should be doing with your tax dollars and being good public stewards.
So how many people do you have that work in the auditor's office?
We have about 400 and give or take 70 to 80. We hire a lot of interns, so we get young people coming right out of the educational institutions all across the state of Washington, and then have them intern in the state auditor's office and then train them up so that they could be true government auditors.
And while to the audience that may sound like a lot, when you compare it to the numbers of 39 county governments, almost 300 municipality governments, transit districts, mosquito districts, anything that's got an elected body that has a taxation authority, your department is responsible for auditing and making sure that they are doing the job that they are supposed to for their taxpayers and their constituents.
Exactly. We audit over 2,300 governmental entities, as you said. So at the local level, it's general governments like cities and counties, and then special purpose districts. And like you said, anything from a mosquito district here in Eastern Washington to King County. So from the smallest to the largest. In state government, we audit everything from DSHS to the smallest commission. Anyone that gets public dollars, whether they're federal dollars, state dollars, or local dollars, we are going to audit them.
Now, recently, within the last few days, a number of reports were placed on your website, some for areas that we reach, like City of Yakima. There are also City of Pasco.
Sausage Rivers, a report on
departments as well. And it's very easy to open one of those reports, look at it, see that there was a finding, but explain for our audience findings that generate real concern for your office, and then findings that are human element findings that were simple mistakes, small oversights that are easy to correct, versus something that your office really looks at and says, this is a major, major problem?
Right. And I think that's a perfect way to kind of contextualize the work that we do, because it runs the gamut. So let me explain to your audience that we do financial audits. So we're going to look at the books, the revenues and the expenditures. We do what we call accountability audits to make sure that you're following your rules, your procedures, your laws, the state law, the federal laws. We're going to look at make sure you're accountable, that you have your public, you represent the public, and that you have Open Public Meetings Act. You meet all those requirements. And then we do performance audits. So we may see that there's an issue, that we do a research effort, if you will. It's almost like a research project in our performance audit to make improvements so that you're more efficient and you're more effective with how you deal with the issues that we're looking at in that performance audit. And there's a wide range. And if you go to our website, I highly encourage people to go to our website. A few years ago, when there was a police reform at the state legislature, the legislature wanted the state auditor's office to participate in some capacity. And we said, well, we have a pretty strict lane. We can do some compliance audits. So they wrote us into the legislation that we would do use of deadly force audits. And when I say that, we don't opine on whether the use of deadly force incident was justified. What we audit is whether the investigation of that incident by the team that comes in, the investigative teams that come in and do the investigation, whether it was transparent, credible, it was communicated appropriately. And so we're looking at what the Criminal Justice Commission requires us to look at. So it's a compliance audit. So we do those kinds of audits. We do fraud investigations in the state auditor's office. We do whistleblowers. I say it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. We do a little bit of everything. And we have a wide range of expertise in the audits, not just CPAs and auditors, but we have, investigators, we have IT specialists, and we have a range of folks. But we're doing cybersecurity audits, and we've been doing that now since I've been there, and I'm going on 9 years. It started before I started, but cybersecurity audits are very popular for local governments and state agencies.
We're talking with Washington State Auditor Pat McCarthy. You're on the dotted line. Wednesday afternoon.
When you talk about cybersecurity, that kind of piques an interest, because a lot of people think auditor, financial, books, Quicken, that kind of stuff. But so when you do a cybersecurity audit, do you just basically go through and examine their cybersecurity and say, okay, you've got this in place, you've got this program, or you don't have something that's designed to cover this account or that account? Is that kind of how it works?
Yes, it's in a simple way that is true. What we do is we don't impose it; we offer that as a service. Because when the voters of Washington State passed initiative I-900 in 2005, they authorized the Washington State Auditor at the time to be able to do performance auditing. So we have taken the dollars, not all of them, to do performance auditing. We've taken them and put them towards us having the ability to go in to do a cybersecurity audit. And it can be a full-on audit that we've worked with that local entity or that state agency to look at, to do white hat penetration, to show them and to demonstrate through this audit process what their weaknesses are. Or we do a cybersecurity checklist so that every person can know what are the red flags, what should we be looking for, and we give that information to that local entity or to that state agency, and they take that information and make improvements. It's one of the few things we don't do in the public arena, because if we put all that information of their weaknesses out, it would make them weaker. Yeah. So it is something for them to be able to make some improvements and to avoid any problems with regards to a cyber security incident. And I mean, I'm so afraid I don't open anything anymore because you open Pandora's box, if you will. So
when it comes down to an enforcement mechanism, and it's one of the things that John and I have talked about a few times, is that we appreciate the reports, and we appreciate seeing that there is an agency at the executive level that is objectively looking at what everybody else is doing and pointing out that there needs to be a better job done here. But there doesn't seem to be an enforcement mechanism within your department. So if you need to take it another step, let's start at the local level. If you detect something at the local level where you need to have an enforcement arm, where do you go? And then if it's the state level where you need to have an enforcement mechanism, where do you go?
So first of all, if we determine, let's take the local level first. So if we determine there is a finding, which is the worst thing that we can say, you've got this really significant issue. If it's at the local level, we share that with the Court of Public Opinion. We opine on it, as you said. But we will come back in a year to see whether you've made those improvements. Once again, we'll opine on it. If you've continued to not take care of that issue, you are dealing with the Court of Public Opinion. Now, if we detect there's fraud, it's something different now. We detect there's fraud or there's a misuse or abuse, then we will take it to another level. And so we have an investigative team that will go in and actually look at whether there is truly fraud there. Many times, even local governments, they will find the fraud themselves, and then they have to report it to us. We will still go in and do an investigation. Now, at the state agency level, they have to, when we opine and do a report, they have to report to the legislature and the governor the means of how they're going to make improvements. Now, they can continue to have those problems, but we're going to come right back and do a report again on those same problems. And if they continue to do it, it's in the hands of the governor. They're under the auspices of the governors, or if they're separate elected, then it's up to that separate elected to deal with those. But again, we believe in a representative form of government. We elect people to do this work for us, and at some point, I will tell you, my experience has been most people make corrections. Not always, of course, but people in government want to do right for the most part. Now, there are outliers, of course, but they want to do right with following the rules and the procedures. And sometimes they have problems with resources. They'll say, well, I don't have enough people to do that. Well, you can only say that so long, in my humble opinion. So I come out of local government, so I think it's good for governments to hear or to see what it is that their weak internal controls and how they can make adjustments. But you're right. It runs the gamut of something really significant to something that, you need to tighten this up. You need to have a segregation of duties. If you're really, really small, there are ways you can segregate duties so that you're the same person that's writing the checks isn't depositing the checks. Do you know what I mean? So we find those kinds of issues. So
say at the local level, if your investigative team comes back and the issues have not been addressed, does your investigative team turn what they have over to local law enforcement?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yes, either I should have said that, to local law enforcement, at the local level, and if it's at the state level, it goes to the AG's office. And from there, if there is actual fraud, then it goes to the FBI, and the FBI will then take it from there.
And one of the things I want to touch on as well, want to make sure that our audience also is aware that you have been tabbed by your peers at national level to head the National Association of State Auditors, correct?
Yes, I am. So all the 50 states and then the territories and Puerto Rico all have state auditors in some form or manner. They have comptrollers, they have treasurers. Those are the accountability people across the country. And then we have at the federal level, you have the IGAs, the inspector generals, whose strict job is to look at the state or federal government agencies to make sure that they're doing what they should be doing. But yes, I do have that honor, and my goal is to tell the story, to make sure that people know that people will ask me, well, what are the state auditors from across the country? What is their biggest concern? It's unpredictability right now. It doesn't matter your political persuasion. There is a level of unpredictability and unsurety, and government needs to have predictability. They need to know what the rules are. They need to know what the procedures are. In auditing, we need to know what the standards are. We need to know, and we need to follow those standards, and we want to do that. So this unpredictability piece that's happening right now is really unsettling for us at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level.
Have in this most recent meeting at the national level, is that one of the things that was discussed, is how the level of partisanship has increased? Does it make it more difficult to do the job in some states based on where the partisanship sits?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for some states, yes. But on the whole, the accountability community, whether you're elected as a Democrat or elected as a Republican, we operate in a bipartisan, nonpartisan manner because that's the nature of the work that we do. We don't just audit you and give you a good audit if you're a blue county versus a red county. Let's say that. That has nothing to do with how the work that we do. And I would say that it's pretty consistent across the country and has been since I've been in this position I'm going on 9 years now. And I believe strongly that there is this effort by a lot of people in government to try and to not have that happen. To do the work. When I was county executive in Pierce County, I used to say, we don't have Republican rivers and Democratic, air. We don't separate all that. We live, we go to church, we go to ball games, we do everything with each other, regardless of our political persuasion. But it has kind of, brought us to a place that is uncomfortable for everyone. So what we did at the national level is we created a white paper to really talk about what it is we do as state auditors across the country. And if you go to our website, www.sao.wa.gov, and you look on our website, you'll be able to see, number one, a plethora of information about your governments that you pay taxes for. You can slice and dice. We have a tool called the Fit tool. You can look at that. But you can also see our summary of our white paper that really describes what we do in government. I think there's this attitude that government isn't audited. We did 2,700 audits last year across the state for, like I said, they were small, large, and every one in between. And those audits are done in an independent, objective point of view. We don't come to the table in that regard. And so our goal is to make sure that we can elevate government so that you can trust government, because we're outside independent. In fact, I told these county officials today, we can tell your story better than you can, because we're outside independent set of eyes that really doesn't have an agenda other than to tell what we see. And we're going to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's the bottom line. And it's incumbent upon you to make whatever those course corrections you need to make sure that you build the confidence in the public user.
And I want to reinforce for anybody in our audience that wants to read the most recent report about whether it's their city government, their county government, their transit authority,
right?
The mosquito district. It's very easy to find those reports. It's very easy to search on the Auditor's website. We did that leading up to our interview today. Went on the website and did searches for a number of the cities that fall within our listening range.
Great.
Looked at those reports, read the findings, looked at the recommendations. A number of the cities had letters included that they were already addressing the issues that were brought up. And some of those reports, like one of the counties, was a follow-up from a previous year that we came back to make sure that this was addressed. So it's very detailed. I would strongly suggest that people take advantage of that to read about what's happening in their cities, in their counties, with the authorities they pay taxes to and read the auditor's report. And then if they have questions, take it to your elected officials. Ask them about that report because the auditor's done their job.
Right.
Now it's time for the city council members or the county commissioners or the transit board members to answer, okay, have you taken care of this? And what are you going to do to prevent this from happening again?
Yes, absolutely. And we have a tool. It's called the Financial Intelligence Tool, or we use an acronym FIT. And you can look at all of those taxing districts. You can put in where you're from, and you can see who you're paying taxes to. You can slice and dice it. You can say, well, I want to compare my park district with my neighboring county's park district to see, are we paying more? Are we paying less? Or what are they paying? And how solvent are they? How are they concerning? We will tell you if they're not doing very well. We'll tell you if they're doing well. We'll tell you if they're stable. And it's pretty user-friendly. I say it's not Google, but it's pretty user-friendly for John Q. Public, for anyone to be able to. You don't need a business degree or a financial degree to be able to understand it, for sure.
When you find ways to help these entities, make themselves more efficient, does that kind of make you feel like we've done our job and kind of a little bit of pride or accomplishment there?
Well, it's not static. It meaning that they're constantly getting new staff. You're constantly having to be vigilant in the work that you do. Your elected bodies really need to do that oversight. We use that term all the time. You have to trust your staff, but you have to verify. Trust, but verify. And it doesn't mean that you don't trust your staff, but it means that you verified that what they're doing is what they should be doing, and that they're following, they're dotting every I and crossing every T. We have, on our non-audit side of our operation, we have a library, and you'll see it, and it has all sorts of manuals that'll tell you how to segregate duties, how to check the bank statements, how to do some of those practical things that you need to do to be able to make sure that you are having good, strong internal controls.
But again, Washington State Auditor Pat McCarthy joining us this Wednesday afternoon. And again, visit the State Auditor's website. You can pull up any reports for your taxing authority, whether it's the city, the county, the transit. Here in Benton County, we have a mosquito district. You could be like that. So make sure you check it out again. Thank you very much for your presence.
You're welcome. Thank you.